Welcome back, everybody. So recently I was on a road trip on my little 500 Abarth, and I hit something in the road. It kicked up and made a loud thwack underneath the car, and then I immediately smelled gas. Now let's get under there and see what happened. Ah, there's the problem. So whatever it was hit the heat shield around the gas tank and drove the heat shield into the tank, causing a puncture. Now, a new gas tank is going to cost around $1,000, but I'm going to see if I can fix it myself before going that route. But this tank is plastic, you say. How do you fix a plastic tank? Ah, with a plastic welder, of course. Now, this is just a cheap little kit from Harbor Freight, but we're going to find out if it's going to do what we need it to. Now, when you're plastic welding, you have to make sure you're using the right plastic as a filler material. What they include in this kit is little strips of polypropylene. Now, what are gas tanks made out of, you might ask? Fortunately, it's labeled right on the gas tank itself, HDPE. So the kit doesn't include any HDPE filler, but not to worry, because HDPE can be found just about anywhere. This is from an oil jug that I cut up into pieces to use as filler. So let's get to it. So the first thing I need to do is get this heat shield out of the way. I'm not too worried about ruining this heat shield since it's already pretty much banged up. So we've exposed the gash pretty thoroughly now. So let's see if our iron is hot. Yep, you can see that it's ever so slightly melting the plastic here. Now, anytime you have a heat source around a fuel tank is a sketchy situation, so I don't recommend doing this unless you don't really care about death and dismemberment. So I've taken a little piece of this wire mesh, and it's going to sit in here and reinforce the area that we're welding. Get it placed in here correctly. Now I'm just going to tack it down in a couple spots. Heating it up and applying some pressure should be all it takes. There you see, it's sunk into the plastic there. Smooth this a little bit. And this is a little bit harder doing it all upside down. I don't know if you guys can see this, but the end of this little heating iron is bending as I'm applying pressure. Harbor Freight quality, folks. Harbor Freight quality. But it's still working, so that's all that matters. Now, as you can see, like as I'm pressing this in, the plastic's melting up around it. So the wire mesh does two different things. First, it reinforces the area. It also gives you a substrate in which the filler rod to sink into. I want to make sure I get this mesh fully sunk into the plastic here. It's a little bit of an awkward shape to get this little triangle foot into, but it seems to be working. It would probably help if they included a couple different other size tips for this. You know, probably just a standard soldering tip would probably work pretty good. Smells lovely. Well, I think that's about as good as I'm going to get the wire mesh. See if I can bend this thing back straight. It's kind of ridiculous. There we go. Now it's hard to tell where the crack used to be, but it ran right through here. So this is the first spot I'm going to try to add filler to. So I'm just going to place these strips that I cut out where I want them, press them in there with the iron. And they should just blend right in. Pretty messy. Smoking! And now I'm just trying to push all that filler into place. Apply a fair amount of pressure to make sure it gets into the crack. Whoop, melting plastic on my gloves. Glad my face wasn't there. I'm just going to keep adding filler until I can't see this mesh at all. Hopefully that works out. Well, it cools off pretty quickly. Now I don't know if you guys can see this, but it looks like a little indentation right here. I can't tell if I did an oopsie or what. So I'm going to add another little piece of mesh right there and more filler. So now I'm just going through and trying to smooth everything over and making sure I don't have any gaps or voids. Well folks, I think that's probably about as good as it's going to get. It looks like I built up a decent amount of material where the crack used to be. So, let's see if she holds gas. Moment of truth, ladies and gentlemen. I'm pouring the gas in. Woohoo! No leaks! So what do I think of this little plastic welding kit from Harbor Freight? Well, I think it works pretty darn good. The only complaint I really have about it is how this tip tends to bend when it gets hot and you're applying pressure. Now, of course, you can just bend it right back, and you saw me do that in the video. But this should be a little bit harder material. But this thing only costs like 16 bucks, and it fixed up my gas tank, so it's a win. Bye, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.